Thrive students. We start our second sermon here in our series about sex and dating called Swipe Right. This one's going to be about what biblical femininity, what should that look like? What should a strong, godly woman look like? And we're going to work through these three things that are talked about in the book Captivating. If you've never read the book by Stacy and John Eldridge, it's about a woman's heart. And three questions that every woman has in her heart are, am I indispensable to the adventure? Am I beautiful? Am I worthy of pursuit? Every woman wants to know those things. And so we're going to look at those from a biblical perspective. We know if we look at Genesis that Adam and Eve are given a mission, right? Genesis 1:28 says, God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and every creature that crawls on the earth. And so basically God's telling them the garden, all of the order that you see here, the rest of the world, it's your job to make it look like this. And so that's a big job, right? Adam's given this mission, and he has this huge job to take care of. And so we see in Genesis 2, we see that women are indispensable to this, right? To this kingdom job that God has given them, right? Number one, ladies, you are indispensable. Genesis 2:18 says, then the Lord God said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper. The word for helper there is Azer Kenegdo, corresponding to him. A lot of times this verse gets a bad rap because we hear that word helper. And to be honest, I hear that and I think of when I used to work in the garage with my dad and he was doing all the work and I was just handing him the tools. That's what we like to think of when we think helper. That's a terrible way to think of this verse because that's not what God wants us to think when we read that verse. So we're going to look at those two words in the original language, Azer Kenegdo, right? What was God trying to tell us about a woman's role, about what strong, godly women should look like? This is what John Eldridge says. He says, the word Azer is used only 20 other places in the entire Old Testament. And in every other instance, the person being described, catch this, ladies, is God himself. When you need him to come through for you desperately. Most of the contexts are life and death, by the way. And God is your only hope, your Azer. If he's not there beside you, you're dead. A better translation, therefore, of Azer would be lifesaver. This is somebody that you depend on, right? Women are not holding the tools. Women are right there working with men to make this world look like it's supposed to, especially after the fall, right? And so, to be honest, I asked God to be my Azer before I put this sermon together. I got on my knees in my office and I was praying, asking the Lord to help me. And I was saying, Lord, would you be my helper when it comes to putting this sermon together? That's not demeaning God. That's not saying that he's less than me. We all know he's far, far better than me. I needed his help because he's indispensable to what I needed to do. And so if Azer means lifesaver, the second part of that means Kenegdo, or corresponding to. And so women are just as important as men when it comes to serving, taking care of others. A good way to think of it is like the wings on a bird, if you look at this picture, right? If a bird only uses one wing, it ain't flying nowhere, right? It needs both wings working correctly. And that's the whole way that our mission for God and taking care of this world, it works, right? Men are one wing, ladies are the other, right? We're both the image of God, just in different ways. And so if both wings are doing what they're supposed to do, we're flying straight, right? So women are not less than. Never, ever believe it. If you hear that from a pulpit or from anyone, women are no less than men, period. Women are just as good as men. They're just different, right? You don't got to hang out with little boys very long to see that they're completely different than little girls or adult boys and adult girls for that matter, right? They're completely different. They're not less than, they're just different. I wanted to give you ladies a couple lies to watch out for when it comes to this. One end of the spectrum is that ladies will think that they're unimportant, but they'll think because of the things that I've done, I'm not important. I'm not indispensable. I don't matter. That's not true, ladies. I love this pastor that I used to listen to. He would always say, God doesn't make trash. Ladies, you're not trash. You're not unimportant. But the other lie to watch out for is the other end of the spectrum, which would say, you're the point, right? Ladies, you aren't the point. You're indispensable. You're important. God put you here for a reason, But you're not the point, ladies. It's not all about you. Let's go into that second question on the lady's heart. You're beautiful. I love what Adam had to say as soon as he met Eve, right? The guy starts spitting out poetry and falling all over himself, right? Eve walks up on the scene and Adam says, finally, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, name her woman, for she was made from man. Ladies, how would you react if you met a guy and he just started spitting out poetry because he was so overcome by your beauty? So it's a pretty decent way to respond to a lady. He's overwhelmed by how beautiful she is. We need to answer that question. What does God find beautiful? When I say you're beautiful, what do I mean? Just how you look? Peter puts a little more light to that in 1 Peter 3, verses 3 and 4, where he says, don't let your beauty consist of outward things like elaborate hairstyles and wearing gold jewelry or fine clothes, but rather what is inside the heart, the imperishable quality of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. Ladies, there's nothing wrong with being physically beautiful, but that's not the encompassing part of what makes you beautiful. What makes you beautiful is your heart. That doesn't mean you can't be a loud and boisterous lady, that you always have to be quiet and keep your mouth shut. That's not a strong biblical woman. It's saying you're a woman that doesn't call attention to yourself. Everything's not about you, right? We'll see that real beauty doesn't let the attention terminate on itself. It points to someone else. Proverbs 31 would put it like this: charm is deceptive and beauty does not last, but a woman who fears the Lord will be greatly praised. If you look at the painting that I have on here, this is A Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. It's one of the most famous paintings of all time. When people look at this painting, they don't say, that's a pretty painting. They say, Van Gogh did a magnificent job on that painting. And the same thing happens when it comes to your beauty, ladies. Because your beauty points to God, right? It's not just about you, it points to God. All right. Real beauty is humble, right? We see when Jesus came, he's the beautiful one, not in an effeminate, weird way. But when we think of beauty, we think of humility. If you look at Philippians 2:8, man, this verse wrecked me this week. It said, Jesus humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even to death on a cross. That's beautiful. That someone would choose a humble, terrifying death in order to save the people that they love. That's beautiful. And that's the picture of what beauty is, ladies and guys, for that matter. When it comes to beauty, what lies do we need to watch out for, ladies? That your worth lies in how you look. That's not true. Now, there's a lot of campaigns out there that tell you that, but your worth lies in what God says about you. Comparison increases this. If you compare yourself to the other ladies on Instagram, you're going to think that your worth lies in how you compare instead of what God says about you. The other lie to watch out for is that your life's all about getting noticed. Ladies, there's far more to life than getting noticed by other people. Your life, if you follow Jesus, is about pointing them to him. Nextly, the third thing the feminine heart aches for is to know that they're worthy of pursuit. And so as I was praying about this week, I thought of the woman in John 4, the woman at the well. You guys have probably heard this sermon about the woman in the well a ton of times. Jesus rolls into town with his boys. He's tired. He sits at the well, says, hey, go to town and get some supplies. I'm going to hang out here. This woman comes to the well in the heat of the day because she does not want to be around the townspeople, because if you've read this story, you know that she's kind of the town trollop, right? She's the one that gets made fun of because she's had 5 husbands, and the guy she's with now isn't her husband. And Jesus is going to touch on that when he's talking to her to show her that she's worthy of pursuit. Because she's been having this conversation with Jesus, going back and forth, kind of playing word games with him. And then Jesus just gets right to the point. He says, go and get your husband. Jesus told her. I don't have a husband, the woman replied. Jesus said, you're right. You don't have a husband. You've had 5. You aren't even married to the man you're living with now. You certainly spoke the truth. I love that Jesus speaks the truth to this woman. He pushes on the part of her life that hurts the most, not to hurt her, but to show her that in spite of that, she's worthy. And you guys will see why. Jesus, if you follow this on, in verse 25 and 26, It says, the woman said, I know the Messiah is coming. If you don't know what's going on, she's trying to change the subject because Jesus just pointed out something she does not want to talk about. And so she says, I know the Messiah is coming, the one who is called Christ. When he comes, he will explain everything to us. And then come the 4 words that completely changed this woman's life. It says, then Jesus told her, I am the Messiah. The Messiah could have gone anywhere, right? She knows what Jesus is saying here. She knows who Jesus is claiming to be. And instead of going into town and talking to all those people, he waited at the well for her to show her that she is worthy of pursuit. She goes into town and is the first missionary for Jesus into Samaria and brings the whole town out there because Jesus flipped the script of her life, helped her to understand that he chose her and pursued her. And ladies, you have to remember this too. God has already pursued you in Jesus Christ because he loves you dearly. Ephesians 1:4 would put it like this: even before he made the world, God loved us and chose us in Christ to be holy and without fault in his eyes. So when it comes to pursuit, what are the lies to watch out for, ladies? The same thing that this woman worried about, that past mistakes make you unworthy of pursuit. If there's a guy that tells you that, if you make mistakes in the next couple of years when it comes to your purity or relationships, that does not make you unworthy of pursuit by a godly man or unworthy of pursuit, especially by God. The second thing that women sometimes fall into is they think they have to do the pursuing, right? They have to be aggressive. They have to be the one that goes after everything. Now, if that's your natural personality and you're a type A woman, there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to make sure that the reason you're doing things isn't based out of fear. Because a lot of the time, women that don't live from a humble place, that go out and feel like I have to do it because if I don't do it, it's not going to get done, is because they don't. The heart of the issue is trust. They don't trust that God's going to take care of them. And so they think that they have to go out and get everything done. Stacey Eldridge answers that like this. She says, the issue is fear, but the deeper issue is trust. Can we trust our lives, our futures, and the lives of those we love to God? Can we trust a God we can't control? Can we trust this God whose take on life and death and suffering and joy is so very different from our own? Yes, we can, because we know him and we know he is good. And so, ladies, if you're a strong, godly woman, you know these 3 things: that you are indispensable to the adventure. You're indispensable to the story that God is writing. You are beautiful because of what he says about you, and that you are worthy of pursuit, no matter what has happened in your past or what happens to you in the future. The last thing I want you to remember, ladies, that all 3 of these things could be said of Jesus. He's the indispensable he's the indispensable one that holds creation together. Beautiful? Look at the cross. There's nothing more beautiful than that. Who's worthy of pursuit more than our God? He made you in the image of God to show people those things. So remember how important that is. I finished up the last sermon with some practical advice. I thought it would be good to do the same here. So ladies, you're going first. Number 1, physical, mental, verbal, or spiritual abuse is never okay. You do not deserve that, ladies, and neither do your friends. If you see it happening, tell someone. You don't deserve that. Secondly, do you put more work into your looks than your heart? Are you more concerned with how you look than with who you are, than your relationship with God? Thirdly, do you celebrate other girls or compare yourself to them? Are you constantly, through your words or maybe just through your thoughts, tearing others down or tearing yourself down through comparison? Celebrate other women and the gifts that they have, but celebrate the gifts that God has given you too. Stop comparing yourself, ladies. Fourthly, do you measure your worth by the attention you get from guys? Guys, here's my practical advice for you. Do not use a woman's appearance as the primary judge of who she is. Because I'll just be 100% honest with you, there's some girls out there that are beautiful that you do not want anything to do with. Judge a woman by her heart, not by her appearance. And while I have that, her heart brought up, number 2, protect girls' hearts. Refuse to take advantage of them. Do not be the guy who's known for taking advantage of women, especially physically or spiritually. Thirdly, do not use the information that you got here about how women need to know that they're indispensable, beautiful, and worthy of pursuit to manipulate the women around you, but use that information to encourage and protect the ladies that God has put around you. Number 4, pornography will destroy your love for women. And ladies, I know some ladies struggle with pornography too. Pornography will destroy your heart because it makes other people into objects. So, guys, if you're struggling with that, tell somebody, tell me. I'm not going to judge you. I'll walk you through it. We'll work on it together, guys. But make sure that you don't let that destroy your heart because you'll stop seeing women as indispensable, beautiful, and worthy of pursuit. You'll start treating them like objects. Thanks, guys. I love you. I'll be praying for you.